So today's day and date, Tuesday. And today is 3rd of December. Tuesday, 3rd December. And we are starting with the accounts from incomplete records. Okay, and that is why we call it single entry system. See, the name of our book is double entry system, right? And the more logical and scientific method is the double entry system, wherein we have got two aspects for every transaction, debit and credit, right? Now, single entry doesn't mean that there'll be only one aspect. Okay, single entry means that it will be incomplete records basically. ठीक है ना sir? Double entry में हम बोलते हैं, like for double entry, we say that every transaction has got two aspects, debit and credit. Now, mind you, here single entry does not mean that it'll have only one aspect. Okay, single entry is basically incomplete records. That means in single entry, this debit and credit thing will be for each and every entry. For each and every entry. Okay, this dual aspect will be followed. But when we talk about a single entry system, it does not mean that we'll have only one aspect for all the transactions. No, single entry is basically incomplete records. Now, incomplete records means that for some transactions, we'll have both the aspects which we'll be recording. For some transactions, both aspects will be recorded. Both aspects recorded. Okay, for some transaction, only one aspect will be recorded. Okay, and for some transaction, they won't be recorded only. Okay, for some transaction, both the aspects, that is your debit and credit. For some transactions, one aspect, either of them, it can be debit or credit, depending upon, we'll see, one aspect. And for some transactions, no recording will be done, right? No recording will be done. Now, what kind of system is this then? Does it seem scientific or logical? No, of course not. It is meant for, very small businesses, or like, let's say a vegetable vendor. वो भी अगर थोड़ा बड़ा होगा तो they'll have proper records. But say a normal sabzi wala or a very small business for that matter, they wouldn't keep, proper accounting records, appointing an accountant for doing all your entries or maintaining the system as in Tally or something, some software. So what they'll do is, the vendor himself or the owner himself will be having everything in his mind. And some things he'll note down in his diary, right? तो कुछ transactions में जैसे जो personal accounts है, debtors, creditors, उनका information रखा रहेगा. Some transactions will be just in mind only, not on paper. And some transactions will be, some accounts will be maintained properly. So all in all, what happens is they are incomplete records. To find out profit is really difficult because we need proper journal. Okay, all transactions are entered journal with the help of which we prepare the ledger. Then we do the balancing of the ledger and we are able to prepare our trial balance. And then in the last chapter, you had seen that how with the help of trial balance, you prepare the trading account, which shows you the gross profit. You prepare the profit and loss account, shows you the net profit. And then how this net profit is added to the capital and you're able to make your balance sheet or the financial position statement. Right? This was the entire system. Now, obviously, as I told you, that some journal entries will be passed, some ledgers will be prepared, but only some. Okay. But then I cannot make the trial balance, obviously. And in that case, these three statements obviously cannot be made in that formal format. But yes, of course, even a vendor, a small vegetable vendor must be knowing how much profit did he earn. है ना, उसे पता होगा, ऐसा नहीं है उसे नहीं पता होगा. तो वो कैसे कैलकुलेट कर पाते हैं, या कैसे हम इनकम्प्लीट रिकॉर्ड से भी वी आर एबल टू टेक आउट आवर प्रॉफिट. Right, that is what we are going to do in this chapter, and the method of doing that is very simple. We are basically applying that formula, you know. Now here we do not prepare balance sheet बच्चों, क्योंकि बैलेंस शीट प्रिपेयर करने के लिए तो हमको ये सारा झमेला करना पड़ेगा, जर्नल बनाओ, लेजर बनाओ, ट्रायल बैलेंस बनाओ, तभी बैलेंस शीट. तो यहाँ पे हम बैलेंस शीट ना बना के उसको हम बोलते हैं स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स. ठीक है ना, ये बैलेंस शीट का ही मोर और लेस इनफॉर्मल method of showing the balance sheet only, but we'll call it statement of affairs, right? It is basically the balance sheet, rough balance sheet, you can say, which will have two sides. The left hand side will put all the liabilities and the right hand side the assets. But of course, we won't be knowing all the assets and liabilities in detail properly. Okay, but इतना knowledge होता है कि profit हमारा निकल पाए. That is the entire thing, you know, the end of the story, because what we do want to do by maintaining all this accounting system is we want to know our profit. That's it, right? So here we'll be preparing statement of affairs. ये दो बनाएंगे हम, opening and closing. ठीक है, एक opening date पे और एक closing date पे. That is at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year. Beginning of year and end of year. And then we'll get some balancing figures from these statement of affairs, like your opening or closing capital. And then with the help of that, we'll be able to calculate our profit. So we had done the formula for profit in chapter 5, if you remember. Okay, so my closing capital used to be opening capital plus net profit. Okay, the net profit belongs to the proprietor. Or if it is net loss, then minus net loss. Either of them will be there, right? Net profit or net loss. Plus any additional capital if you have invested during the year. And minus any kind of drawings during the year. So this will give you closing capital. राइट अब अगर हमें क्लोजिंग कैपिटल पता है, हमें ओपनिंग कैपिटल पता है, हमें एडिशनल कैपिटल और ड्रॉइंग्स पता है, देन वी कैन गेट net profit or net loss as balancing figure. ठीक है ना, if only one variable is there, if somehow I am able to calculate my closing capital, opening capital I might be knowing, additional capital and drawings, then I can always calculate my net profit. तो उस केस में what we'll do is we'll keep only the net profit on the right hand side, or net loss, whatever the balancing figure is, and other all figures. So can I say this? Closing capital minus plus drawings. ठीक है, drawings इधर आके plus हो गया, minus additional capital minus opening capital will give you what? Profit or loss, net profit, net loss, whatever it is, right? So what we'll do is, this formula is the same, right? I hope you all remember this formula, and even if you don't remember, now it's clear. This is how we used to do. Closing capital is capital at the end of the year. So उसमें difference किसका आता है? Opening capital जो beginning of the year पे है, उसमें net profit add कर दीजिए, additional capital add कर दीजिए, drawings deduct. This is what we have done in the previous chapter also, right? जो outer column में हम balance sheet में लिखते थे, that used to be the closing capital. What we used to write in the inner column was the opening capital, right? Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to not put it in the form of equation, है ना? पूरा chapter तो यही है. Vidita, the entire chapter of single entry is this only. But the only thing is you have to put it in the particular format. ठीक है ना? तो इसी equation हम यही use करने वाले हैं बच्चों. इसी equation को हम इस format में लिख देंगे. So just write down the format in which we put all this information. So और उसको हम बोलेंगे statement of profit and loss, right? Balance sheet को हम बोलते हैं statement of affairs, और यहाँ पे जो हम बनाएंगे उसको हम बोलेंगे, just write down statement of profit and loss for the year ended. Of course, no trading account. You cannot find out the gross profit, but statement of profit or loss, we'll be making it. So we'll have an inner column and an outer column. हम स्टार्ट करेंगे, वही वाला फॉर्मूला हम लिख दे रहे हैं, बस हमने जैसे यहाँ पे स्टार्ट किया क्लोजिंग कैपिटल से, तो क्लोजिंग कैपिटल स्टार्ट करेंगे हम, या इसको हम बोल सकते हैं कैपिटल एट द एंड. दिस इज व्हाट द क्लोजिंग कैपिटल इज. ठीक है, उसमें हम ऐड कर देंगे ऐड ड्रॉइंग्स. ठीक है, एंड लेस additional capital introduced during the year. Then we are going to less what? Opening capital. बस उसी फॉर्मूले को हमने प्लस ड्रॉइंग्स माइनस एडिशनल कैपिटल माइनस ओपनिंग कैपिटल, उसी को लिख के ये लेस वाले फिगर्स ब्रैकेट में लिख दीजिए. So we'll get our net profit earned during the year, net loss earned during the year. Net profit earned during the year. A double line. Okay. Everybody has copied it?
Ma'am, can you please remove that box which says shape?
Somebody has put it. This box is nothing.
Oh no, ma'am, there is one more, like giving all the shapes options.
On the
Shapes option with the rectangle and the diamond, that one.
okay, I'm not able to see that. Are you able to see that, Sukriti? Rectangle.
Green box.
Green box so I can see, but diamond and this thing, just show it to me. Green box is there, that I can see.
Maybe I'll rejoin them.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's fine now.
Okay. So this is what we are going to do it. अब इसमें बस ये चीज होगा कि हमें ओपनिंग कैपिटल नहीं गिवन होगा, तो पहले हमें ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स बनाना होगा, and then we'll get the opening capital, or closing capital will not be given. So that is what we have to do. ठीक है ना, तो स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स का फॉर्मेट भी देख लीजिए. नेक्स्ट इज माय दिस वाज माय काइंड ऑफ P&L अकाउंट, जो ऊपर है वो P&L अकाउंट हो गया एक तरीके से. एंड नाउ आई एम टेलिंग यू द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स. So statement of affairs, or you can say basically the balance sheet. Okay, not exactly the balance sheet. There is difference between balance sheet and statement of affairs. Statement of affairs में कुछ चीजें हम estimated basis पे डाल रहे हैं. Okay, and not following the proper record. So I cannot say that statement of affairs is balance sheet. Okay, kind of balance sheet. Format remains the same. Particulars, amount in rupees, particular amount in rupees. Particular means, of course, the liabilities and the assets. Now, this will depend upon what date you're making it. Okay, opening statement of affairs will be giving us opening capital, and closing statement of affairs will give us the balancing figure as the closing capital. So, statement of affairs, my date will be mentioned as at. And then liability side, mein, we'll have, of course, the creditors or the loan. Okay, it can be a loan from the bank, loan from father, loan from your spouse, or loan from a friend. So any third party money borrowed from third party, be it the spouse or father, will be a loan only. Okay. And then we have the on the asset side, we'll have, of course, cash. The person must be knowing with surety how much cash do they have, how much stock do they have, debtors ka kya position hai. These values will be known, and this way we'll get the capital as the balancing figure. Okay. There may be other assets also. There may be like machine or any other asset, and capital will be balancing figure. So if you're making this statement at the beginning of the year, you'll get the beginning capital as balancing figure. If at the end of the year, you'll get the closing capital as the balancing figure. Once you know the opening and the closing capital, and you know the drawings, and you know the additional capital, you can always calculate the profit, right? So not going that detailed way to reach to net profit, we are going the other way around. ठीक है ना? या तो आप शुरू से करके एंड तक पहुंचे, या फिर the other way reverse, we are going and trying to calculate a profit. Okay, so this is my statement of affairs. Now we can move on to the question, and then you will get an idea about what kind of questions we are having. And a little bit of theory. You can do जो questions, important theory questions है, इसमें which you have to prepare. अपने आप से लिख लेना, जगह छोड़ दो. Important theory question, directly you will get them. Okay, what do you mean by single entry system? Or just write the meaning of single entry system. ये तो लिख ही लो. System of accounting, or you can say system of bookkeeping, where the records of only cash and personal accounts. Are maintained. It is always incomplete double entry system. Varying with circumstances. As I told you that for some transactions, both the aspects being recorded. So, case transaction ke liye both the aspect, which transaction can be ignored, that will depend upon the, the owner of the business. According to what he feels is material for him, significant for him, he needs to maintain the proper records, he maintain. Otherwise, the other records will be left. And then you have the difference between question 2. This is the meaning of single entry system. Difference between single entry and double entry system. Tabular format में आपको आंसर देना है इस तरीके के theory question का. Okay, difference between single entry and double entry system. Book में दे रखा है पूरा आंसर. You can take it from there. And then the this, and question 3 is difference between balance sheet and statement of affairs. Okay, ये भी important question है. It is given in the book. Just take it from there. All the differences should be in tabular format always. We come to the theory, the practical questions now. Let's start doing the questions. By next class, we'll be through with this chapter, right? And then we'll be left with only one chapter of class 11. That is our financial statements with adjustments. Now, question number 1. Page number 20.21. If you're having old editions, still you will get the questions. No, page number 20.1 पे नहीं है, sorry. 20.27. Page number 20.27. Following information of an accounting year is given. Opening capital, drawings, capital added during the year, closing capital, calculate profit or loss. ये तो equation लगा के ही कर लो, जल्दी करो. I'm giving you the equation and then just find out. You have to find out the net profit ना, तो net profit को इधर रख लो. Closing capital minus plus drawings, उल्टा चल रहा है ना, minus additional capital minus opening capital. Plus opening capital, minus opening capital. $25,000. ये 1,000 क्या है? This is 10,000, sorry. और इसी को जब हम स्टेटमेंट फॉर्मेट में लिख देंगे तो स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट हो जाएगा, ठीक है ना? That is it. So this chapter that way is very simple, except for some small points like your drawings and all calculating. You know, they'll give you drawings like he gifted a bike to his brother. So basically, that will be withdrawals drawings. Or he sold his personal investment at this much premium and then invested that money into the business. So that will be additional capital. So the only thing which you have to remember is whenever he's taking some money from the business for his personal use, whatever be the use of that money, okay, buying jewelry for his wife or paying the fee of his child or going on a leisure trip or buying something, a bike for him or daughter's marriage, some cases like this will be given. Okay, don't get confused. As simple as, you don't have to see the purpose. As long as it is drawings, it will be added back, like to calculate a net profit. Similarly, additional capital, you don't have to see from what source the money is coming. If he is putting it into the business account, like he's selling his personal investments and putting the money into the business account, it will become additional capital. Sometimes they'll say that he sold his personal assets or personal investment at this much premium. Premium means the additional value over and above the cost which is given to you. So वो add करके take out the total money and that is what he invested in the business. That is what is additional capital. So this kind of a little bit variations will be there. Okay. Now come to question number 2. Ramesh does not maintain the proper records for his business. He gives you the following information. आपको ये information दे दी. Proper records नहीं रखे उसने, लेकिन उसको ये पता था. अब इतनी बात इसको पता है that we can calculate the net profit or net loss for him, right? So opening capital, closing capital, drawings and capital added during the year. निकालो. Just calculate quickly. Apply this formula. Don't have to make the statement over here. They have not asked us to. They've just asked us to calculate the profit or loss. So don't make the format. Just go by the equation, calculate the net profit. Do it first. I'm waiting. So for question number 17, this is our statement of affairs, where we have put it all the values along with the adjustments. So wherever we had adjustment, like for debtors, profit provision for doubtful debts at the rate of 5% of the debtors, So that we wrote in the inner column in the statement of affairs, deducted that, and then in the outer column, 47,500. Similarly, plant to be depreciated by 10% in the adjustment. So we put the plant value in the inner column, and then depreciation deduct karke, we put the net value, depreciated value in the outer column in the statement of affairs, which is just like balance sheet. The remaining assets and liabilities, we put it as it is, and then we got closing capital as the balancing figure, 1,30,700. And now we're making the statement of profit and loss. So write the heading, statement of profit and loss for the year ending 31st, or for the year ended 31st March 2024. And the statement का format बना लीजिए. We start with the closing capital, which we just got 1,70,700 from our statement of affairs, the balancing figure. To that, we add back the drawings and less additional capital, less the opening capital, will give us the profit or loss earned during the year. Drawings are given to us as 24,000. Interest on capital का adjustment we still have to do. No, but interest on capital का rate is not given. Okay, so this date is then of no use because the rate of interest on capital was not given. Had the rate been given, then we would have charged or we would have given the interest on capital to the proprietor at the given rate. Okay, that would have been added to his capital, but that's not given to us. So we don't have to do anything. 24,000 आपका add हो जाएगा इसमें. तो एक बार add करने के बाद लिख लेते हैं 194,700. And then additional capital आपका है 30,000. So it'll become 164,700. And then you have opening capital at 40,000. So this becomes 1. ये तो less हो जाएगा ना. क्या गड़बड़ कर दिया हमने? 3,000 minus तो क्या? Add drawings 190, 164 minus 40 is 130.
Additional capital 30,000 minus
30,000 minus तो क्या हमने? हाँ?
Ma'am, the closing capital is
Wait, you're not audible, beta. 1 minute. Closing capital is 170,700.
No, closing capital is 137.
Okay, it is 130,700. Okay. Okay. So then it becomes 154,700. And additional capital was 30,000. 30,000. That will be deducted. And opening capital was 40,000. That will be deducted too. So 70 इसमें से minus हो जाएगा. So कितना 84,700 बच गया. So this will become 84,700. The profit earned during the year. Okay. So this is how whenever you have got some adjustments, because adjustment वाला chapter हमने छोड़ दिया है अभी. तो आपको कुछ basic adjustment करने होंगे, like depreciation to be deducted from the asset, or your provision for doubtful debt would be deducted from your debtors. or your interest on capital will be added to the capital only, or interest on drawings would be deducted from the capital only, just like drawings. So drawings and interest on drawings both will be deducted from the capital, and additional capital and interest on capital both will be added to the capital, right? We'll do one more question. Let's do question number 16. Come to question number 16. Gurman, a retailer, has not maintained proper books of accounts, but it has been possible to obtain the following details. Trade creditors of both the years they have given you, previous year also and this year also. So previous year ka will become the opening of this year. The previous year के जो भी figures हैं उनसे आपका opening balance sheet, opening statement of affairs बन जाएगा, and with the closing figures you'll be able to make your closing statement of affairs, right? And you've been given all the assets and liabilities. Loan from Naresh. So we took a loan from Naresh. Who is Naresh? We don't know. So maybe an outsider, because the person who's the owner is Gurman. Okay, so Naresh koi bhi outsider hai. So it's a liability. Stock, cash in hand, these are assets. Shop fittings are also assets. Trade debtors are also assets. Bank debt, bank balance is also an asset.
What is short fitting?
Shop fittings is your furniture and fittings, furniture, fixtures, and fittings. So many a times they'll use this word, furniture, fixtures, fittings. And then calculate the net profit for this year and draft the statement of affairs at the end of the year after noting that shop fittings are to be depreciated by 780. So you'll have to take shop fittings closing figure in the inner column, and then after deducting depreciation to the outer column. Gurman has drawn 100 rupees per week for his own use, drawings, and then 52 weeks in a year. Okay, so 5,200 would be his drawings. Included in trade debtors is an irrecoverable balance of 270. So these are my bad debts. These are not even doubtful. I'm not going to create provision for this. These are bad debts. So they'll be deducted from the debtors. And then interest at the rate of 5% is due on the loan from Naresh, but has not been paid so far. So this is a liability. D1 is a good adjustment. When you don't pay the interest, then it becomes outstanding interest, outstanding payment. So it'll be shown as a liability in the balance sheet. Now, what you're supposed to do is simple. Make the opening statement of affairs. So put the heading, statement of affairs as on 31st March 23. Try to put the figures, the opening figures, the last year figures on the assets and the liability side. Try to do it. If not, then I'll do it. Then do it with me if you're not able to put the last year figures in the opening balance sheet.
These adjustments won't.
Adjustments won't be there in this balance sheet, but your adjustment would be there in the closing balance sheet. That is what I told you to write, no, in the previous question. See, adjustments to be made in the closing statement of affairs. Be careful, bacho. Okay, all the adjustments would be made in the closing statement of affairs, except additional capital and drawings. वो हम statement of P&L में करते हैं adjustment, ठीक है ना? उसके अलावा जो भी adjustment है, apart from additional capital and drawings, put them over here in the opening statement of affairs quickly. There'll be never any adjustment in the opening statement of affairs. Okay. All the adjustments which are given are to be made only in the closing statement of affairs. Okay. There should be no confusion in that. Opening statement of affairs, you have to just pick the figures and put them there and get your balancing figure there. It is that simple as that. All the adjustment in the closing statement of affairs. So opening statement of affairs में तो आपको calculate ही करना है, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं. So last year figures I'm putting trade creditors 6270. Then we have loan from Naresh. Loan from Naresh is 5,000. And we have stock 12,350. Cash in hand is 570. Shop fittings 7,250. trade debtors 5280. Try to put the figures one under the other so that you can make the calculation there itself. You don't have to copy the figures again. Okay, Supriti. Bank balance 3990. Okay, so we've got the asset side over here. And the liability side, that's it. So we'll get the capital as balancing figure, which is your opening capital, right? And a double line. So I hope everybody has been able to make that. So we'll make the column total of the asset side, 12,350 plus 570 plus 7250, 5280 plus 3990 is 29,440, 29,440. And then minus 6270 minus 5,000. That gives us how much? 18,170. 18,170. This is my opening capital. Okay, now we are moving to the closing statement of affairs. Okay, bachcho? Closing statement of affairs. Closing the bracket mein. Balance statement of affairs as on 31st March 24. Okay, this year de rakha hai. Dates nahi de rakhi. Okay, this is my current year. Liabilities and assets, amount in rupees, amount in rupees. Okay, so we have now trade creditors. Keep on putting the figures again. There is nothing much to think on. Loan from Naresh. Just keep the adjustments in mind. So for shop fittings we have, and drawings to hum statement of profit and loss mein dalenge. और bed debts का adjustment करना है, and for outstanding interest. So except for B part, because B adjustment will go your drawings, additional capital adjustment goes in your balance sheet, in your statement of profit and loss, right? तो B के अलावा A, C, D यहाँ पे करना है, तो loan from Naresh में adjustment है. So I'm writing this loan from Naresh in the inner column, बच्चों. Loan from Naresh, I'm writing in the inner column, 5,000. Yes, you can make a separate column. You can show outstanding interest on loan as a separate item, or you can add it to the loan itself. Add outstanding interest on loan. Okay, full form लिख लो. Outstanding interest on loan. So any outstanding expense we know is a current liability. So will be shown on the liability side. You can show it as a separate figure, or you can show it as an addition to the loan only. So we have to give the interest for the entire year at the rate of 5% of this figure. So that makes it 250. So that is 5250 in the outer column. Right, so this adjustment we've done. Which adjustment? Adjustment number D we have done. Then is stock. So stock will go on your asset side. No adjustment there. Closing value figures, 11,980. Then we have cash in hand, which is 650. Shop fittings in the inner column because adjustment is there. So shop fitting, I'm writing in the inner column 7,800. Probably we might have purchased some more. That is why it is increasing from 7,250. And then less depreciation. So depreciation is given an adjustment number A by 780. So it makes it 7020. Then we have trade debtors again in the inner column because adjustment is there. 4,560 and less bed debts, irrecoverable. So it is bed debts. Bed debts. And the bed debts are 270. $4290 in the outer column. And then we have bank balance as it is, we'll copy. Bank balance is 4130. Now the total of the asset side will make 11,980 plus 650 plus 7020 plus 4290 plus 4130 is 28,070. So same total I'm going to put on the liability side also. Both the sides of the balance sheet are same. Minus 5890 minus 5250 to get the balancing figure. So balancing figure, we've got the capital balancing figure, and this is the closing capital. So this is 16,930. $16,930. Done. Now what we have to do is we've got the opening capital, we've got the closing capital, we've got the drawings, we've got the additional capital, if any.
Yes.
Okay, so now we can know additional capital is given to us, only drawings are there. So now we can move on to prepare our statement of profit and loss. So put the heading, statement of profit and loss for the year ending. We've not been given the date. Only one column is required, not two. Sorry, even a column is required over here. So we start with the closing capital, which we've just calculated, 28,070. To this, we add the drawings.
The closing capital was 16,930.
Sorry. Yes. I took the total. Capital हमारा था 16,930. Drawings are 100 per week. So 100 into 52 weeks, 5,200. So 5,200 would be added. And less the opening capital. So opening capital also we had calculated. 18,170 now. Minus 18,170. So we'll get the profit earned for the year. 16,930 plus 5,200 minus 18,170. 3,960 is the net profit earned during the year. Okay. Now there is only one new point, just 2 minutes more I'll take. In question number 15, we'll just read it. Okay. And then the new point which is covered there, I'll tell you. Otherwise, almost everything is done. Vikas is, come to question number 15, please. Vikas is keeping his accounts according to single entry system. His capital on 31st March 2023 was 2,50,000. This is the closing capital. And his capital on 31st March 2024, sorry, this was the opening capital. And his capital on 31st March 24 was 4,25,000. This is the closing capital. He further informs you that during the year, he gave a loan of 30,000 to his brother on private account. So if he is withdrawing the money from the business and giving it to his brother, whether as loan, as a gift, or whatever, if he is withdrawing the money from the business on private and giving the loan on private account, then for us, for the business, it is drawings, right? So this 30,000, please underline it and put an arrow and put it that this is drawings. You don't have to get confused with the purpose. Okay, ऐसे नहीं कि आप उसमें asset side पे loans दिखा दो. Loan given to brother. When we give the loan to somebody, it is an asset. But he gave the loan on private account, right? So for business, this is withdrawals, drawings. And withdrew 1,000 per month for personal purposes. So 1,000 per month. So it will be 1,000 into 12. If he started his business on 1st April, yeah. Okay, कई बार ये होगा कि आपको दे देंगे in between the year he's starting the business and then they'll give you the monthly drawing. So you have to be careful that you multiply it with 6 only. यहाँ पे तो we're talking about full 12 months period. So his drawings would be 1,000 into 12 plus this loan to brother 30,000 plus for his personal purpose. He used a flat for his personal purpose, the rent of which was 1,800 per month. And electricity charges at an average of 10% of the rent were paid from the business account. So again, electricity ka bill 1,800 plus the electricity bill is 10% of the rent, which is 180 into 12. This rent personal है उसका, ये loan to brother, ये भी उसका personal हो गया because he's giving it on the private account. And this, of course, it is very clearly given that this is for his personal expenses. And then during the year, he sold his 7% government bonds of 50,000 at 1% premium and brought that money into the business. So what is that? Additional capital. ठीक है, तो drawings इस question में, question number 15 में ये सारा कुछ add up कर लेना. ठीक है, और additional capital कितना हो जाएगा? Additional capital हो जाएगा. So directly you won't be given. Sometimes they'll give you like this. So it was his personal investment. 7% government bond उसका नाम है बच्चों, उससे आपको कुछ नहीं करना है. 50,000 को उसने 1% premium पे बेचा है. So 50,000 plus 1% of 50,000. This will be his additional capital. 1/100 of 50,000, 500. तो ये टोटल कितना आ जाएगा आपका 50,500. 1% प्रीमियम पे बेचा एंड द टोटल मनी ही डिपॉजिट इन द बिजनेस के बैंक अकाउंट में. एंड देन प्रिपेयर स्टेटमेंट प्रॉफिट. स्टेटमेंट प्रॉफिट लॉस बना दोगे. ड्राइंग्स बता दिया आपको, एडिशनल कैपिटल बता दिया, ओपनिंग कैपिटल गिवन है, क्लोजिंग कैपिटल गिवन है. वेरी सिंपल. Okay, the only thing you have to understand over here is how the drawings can be given in what form. You have to just understand and be careful. So sometimes they'll tell you that he started the business on 1st July and then he withdrew this much per month. So please don't take it as 12 months. From July till March, it will be only 9 months. July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. If it is given he started the business on 1st October or 30th September, it will be only 6 months. So be careful. These dates will be given usually to confuse you, or to, check whether you are so careful in reading the question that you be careful about the dates. Then similarly, question number 14, the last one that I'm reading. So question 15 we'll put for homework. Sukriti, एक बार homework update कर देना. And question number 14, again, homework. I'm just putting it over here. Hence, you can take it from here. Question number 14. Following information is supplied to you by a shopkeeper. So opening figures are given, closing figures are given. So seeing these figures, one thing I know for sure, I'll have to make the opening statement of affairs to get the opening capital. Very simple. And then before making my closing statement of affairs, be careful about the adjustments which are given below, because those adjustments are to be done in the balance sheet, closing balance sheet, closing statement of affairs. During the year, he withdrew 2,500 per month for domestic purposes. So his drawings in question number 14 would be 2,500 into 12 months. He also borrowed from a friend 9%, a sum of 20,000 on 1st October 23. he has not yet paid the interest. Okay, this is interesting. See, this loan from friend has not been shown in the above figures. See, in the closing balance sheet during this year, he has taken this loan on 1st October 23. So this loan should have been shown in the closing balance sheet, but they have not given us, so we have to put it. So loan from friend will go to your closing statement of affairs as how much? 20,000. And plus outstanding interest on loan will be how much? We'll have to calculate for 6 months. Plus outstanding interest on loan will be 20,000 into the rate of interest is 9%, 9 upon 100, and into 6 months by 12. Okay, so this much will be outstanding loan interest. कितना आता है देख के कर लो, 4.5% हो जाएगा इसका, तो वो हो जाएगा 900. Yeah, it'll be 9. तो ये हो जाएगा 20,900 आपका क्लोजिंग बैलेंस शीट में लायबिलिटी साइड में आएगा. ठीक है, so it will be shown as liability in closing statement of affairs. And of course, provision for bad debts is there. So in the closing balance sheet, you have to take the debtors in the inner column, deduct PDD at the rate of 5% of the debtors, and then show it in the outer column. So you'll have debtors का closing balance sheet में कैसे show करोगे आप closing statement of affairs में. Your debtors are in the closing statement of affairs, it is 64,000 less PDD at the rate of 5%, which is 3,200. ठीक है, 10% 6,400 होता है, तो ये हो जाएगा, तो ये चला जाएगा आपका 61,800, 60,800. ठीक है, ये आ जाएगा आपका आउटर कॉलम ऑफ क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेयर्स में. बस फिर क्लोजिंग कैपिटल आ जाएगा. That's it. So 14 and 15 we are keeping for homework. Updated Sukriti. ठीक है, remaining तो कुछ है ही नहीं वैसे तो, but still we'll do some questions, and then the next class I'll be starting with the adjustments of the financial statements. That is one chapter which is a little typical, okay, and very interesting. And with that, you will have an overall understanding of the entire accounting system till the end of the balance sheet, how the process is moving. Okay, so this year you have got that entire idea. So now I'll wind up the class. Thank you for your patience, Bacho. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
What is 7% government loan?